Bill is my cousin's son.
He's a soccer referee.
Yep. Yep.
I know Billy.
You know Windy Billy.
You know him too, then.
Yep.
He likes to gab, doesn't he?
Oh,
He's a gabber.
you better believe he is.
I like him though. I always got along good with him.
Yeah, he goes into that soccer real big.
Yeah, he's heavy into that. Yeah.
It's good and easy money. You ain't gonna find anything in that old book.
Yes, I did. Right here.
What? Well, let me see which one you got. That was my second one. I bought that car brand new. And I was racing, going with a 55 Chevy. A man who owned a store down there was going to Allegheny, around the Rock Cut curve up here. Well, he was on the inside and I was passing him on the outside. The road got so he came right over against me. That car had the wheel marks of his right up on the roof all the way around, going around that corner. And I think I took out something like 21 guardrails or something going around that curve. And I bought it back from the insurance company and made a race car out of it.
Is that a 56 Ford? 55 Ford. Okay. So you would have raced this car at State Line?
Had it going.
Yeah, you definitely raced that car at State Line.
I don't know. I run it. I know. Let's see, Highland or running up to Hamburg racetrack up to the Hamburg Fair.
What's this one? Or what?
That's a 54 Mercury. That's one of the first late model that I had, and it's a 54 Mercury.
Where's that picture taken, do you know?
Who's got Jim Ponders or who's
No, that's not Ponder. I don't know who it is.
Oh, what was that goddamn guy's name to starter? That picture's got to be at Bradford with the fence right behind it like that, I'd say.
By God, here's a State Line picture. I know damn well that's a State Line picture. I know the other cars in that picture.
Yeah, them guys were all going the wrong way in that one. You see that?
Yeah.
You see they was all going the wrong way.
Yeah, well, you might have had a little help. Looks like that one guy might have given you a little help.
What is 22 was
22 is Eb Young.
Eb Young, yeah.
21, I think, is Billy Layfield.
Number 7.
What's that number there?
Is that 7? Was that Pierce? Sub Pierce?
It looks like it's...
I can't tell.
I can't tell either.
Yeah, they was all going the wrong way.
That could be number 220. That could be Chuck Piazza. That's definitely a State Line picture.
Yeah.
Guardrails give it away.
Oakley Bud Phearsdorf. How did a guy from Allegheny, New York, hear about a place in Bustine, New York, to even think about racing there?
Well, it was just a young brat then. We went around to a few racetracks before, and then I had a friend of mine bought that 54 Mercury, and he stayed here too long one night, had too much hard cider. He didn't make it back only about 2 miles towards Allegheny. He went off the road and smashed it up, and I bought the car, and that's how I started with the late model.
So that's how you got into the racing?
That's about, bought that car, yeah.
That's incredible. Now, is racing in your family, was that something that...
No, my dad never, nothing to do with anybody that run race cars weren't in the right mind, he says.
So you proved him wrong.
Well, I had a lot of fun. Didn't have much anything else to do when I was young, you know. Didn't have no money enough to... We used to race some nights a week. My wife had an old Plymouth, 46 Plymouth car, and I was running 55 Fords and stuff, and the Plymouth wheels would fit. We'd come home at night and jack up her car, take the wheels off of it, even put on a race car to go to some racetrack to run and come back. We used to even pull the transmission out of it. Then she got a 55 Ford convertible. We used to put it over a big ditch, drive over the plank, take the transmission out because it had to be a certain had to be the certain one to fit because the splines on the rear of the transmission was different where the drive shaft went in. Pull the thing out, put it in the race car, go to the race car, and we get back home midnight, 1 o'clock, put the transmission back in so she'd go to work the next morning.
Work the next day,
My
you gotta
gosh.
fix my car.
You know, yeah, we used to pull the tires, pull the wheels off right off our streetcar and stuff so we could go racing. Put them on, them Plymouth wheels, them Dodge wheels fit that Ford. That's anything to go. We had to go back them days when we was young, I guess.
That's all we did do. We weren't drinkers, we just raced. We never were drinkers.
That's incredible. When did you start up at State Line? Was it around 1956, 57, do you remember?
It had to be right around, that going, because I think, that was in 58, wasn't it? We won the opener down the State Line. That's the year that Dean and Carl Tyler had went to Daytona Beach to race down there. That night when we got down there, we had that, well, like I said, we had the Clark Brothers big 10-wheeler trucks, what we hauled it on. They was, we had a neighbor up the road, it was a truck driver for Clark Brothers, and we just borrowed the truck from him. Big Clark Brothers 10-wheeler, about a 20-foot bed on it. We got to State Line, there was no place to unload. No bank to back up, couldn't find a place to end up. We went in the pits, and finally we drove out of the pits out in the parking lot out in front of the place, and we unchained her, and I said, back up and spike the brakes. Right. Backed up and spiked the brakes, and she come off and just bounded up and down the air. The dirt and everything settling out of it. We'd won the night before. We'd had a clean sweep of Smithport. We got the heat semi feature at Smithport with it. Well, I got out and running in the race. First thing happened, the upper A-frame broke. So then I guess I had to run in the Concy that night. And I won the Concy, and then I won the feature that night with it. But
So this you won the feature, and this is the 1958 grand opening feature. And it says here, before a crowd of more than 2,000 fans saw you win. And you were in a 1955 Ford.
Number 43 on it?
Number 43.
That's it, that's the same, yeah.
Yep.
That's the car that we had bought from Jim Patrick. That was Jim Patrick's car the year before.
And it said, let me tell them what it says about you. See if they were lying. It said, starting in 11th place, the 22-year-old driver from Allegheny, New York, had worked up to the tight group of lead cars by the halfway mark of the 25-lap feature. As the field roared by for the 14th lap, it was Bud who led them in car number 43. Never letting up on the throttle, he held the lead slot against a hard-driving pack of contenders until the checkered flag was dropped. Bud said after the race that this was just about the most thrilling moment in his 2 years of racing. It was also a source of some disappointment because his wife, Donna, wasn't on hand to see him win. The couple have been married for 5 years and have 2 sons and a daughter. It seems like Mrs. Phearsdorf is no mean throttle pusher herself in the Powder Puff League and can show at least 3 trophies to prove it. How's that for a real racing team?
Yeah, she used to be bad. I remember, I don't know if it was 7 or 8 months pregnant, what she was for one of our kids. And we had to keep race in the car. We had a hell of a time getting the seatbelt on her and everything, and she still raced.
Yes, I did, and I won.
Yeah.
My mother was racing too. She wouldn't get out of my way, and I pushed her. I moved.
Yeah, you spun her own mother out.
Spun my own mother.
The early win of car racing.
Yeah.
She wouldn't move.
In fact, the write-up of that particular race said that Jim Patrick, Wellsville, who made his late model racing debut in the auto, Phearsdorf, is now finding so profitable. Because the whole article says, new car dreams step nearer for Phearsdorf. This is the headline. Bud Phearsdorf of Allegheny is a man with a dream, and his dream is a new late model stock car to race at State Line. Why he wants it is tough to figure out, especially after what he did Saturday night. To realize his ambition of gaining a new racer, Bud is trying to win money with his old one. The ladder machine is a decrepit-looking 1955 Ford. The fenders dangle. There's not an undented spot on it, and the whole contraption looks as if a good sneeze would reduce it to a pile of rubble. But it wins races, especially features. With it, Bud took the main go at Smethport Thursday night and the finale at State Line. The latter triumph thanks in part to a 13th lap mishap which befell, of all people, the car's former owner. Jim Patrick of Wellsville, who made the late model racing debut in the auto Phearsdorf is now finding so profitable, held sway in State Line's feature before he was the victim of a blowout. Jamestown Kenny Johnson took the lead, but not for long. Phearsdorf caught him on the 14th and was never again seriously challenged. Never won 2 straight features before in my life, says the slender Phearsdorf, who pocketed in the neighborhood of $200.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
That's what it says. I'm just reading what it
but
says.
he was a teeny tiny little guy.
And you pocketed the neighborhood of $200 for a Saturday effort. That car really is going, and this track is in great shape. So that's this. In fact, I think, Randy, this is a copy for you.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this for your scrapbook. You can have that for your scrapbook.
Does that sound like you?
Sounded pretty realistic when they bring it all back. You know.
How did you find State Line Speedway as opposed to some of the other tracks you were racing at that time?
Well, at that time, back racing and stuff, that was probably I figured that was one of the, at that time thing, going one of the fastest racetracks there was, around here.
Right.
Down is all.
What would draw you to go up there? Was there a sense that the purses were a little bit bigger than...
Oh, it was always, back them days, it was a big deal to go to State Line. So, if, down there, that's where late model everything was going on.
Right. And you did that late model instead of the jalopies or the...
Well, yeah, that's what I started out running the things going, but through the lifetime running, we run it, putting anything going, whatever. Sometimes we went to a racetrack and somebody else had a car. Back when we were running, I remember running modifieds. In Olean we was running there. Paul Miles was running modifieds, and I drove his car that night in Olean, and I think that same weekend, Dean went to Perry with or something. That's when Dean had the accident and got killed. He drove it on Sunday. He was driving Paul Miles' car, I think.
What's that story again?
Well, when we run modifieds,
Right.
and I said we run Friday nights or Saturday nights in Olean. Friday nights or Saturday, I can't remember what night we run, but I drove Paul's car to modified there in Olean that night. And that next weekend, I think Dean drove it that weekend at Perry, and when he got hit with a rock or something, I think I'm putting it positive that Dean was driving Paul Miles' car when that happened to him. I ain't positive, but...
It's true. Dean was not driving his own car. He was just driving somebody else's car that night when it happened.
That was, I think, Paul Miles' car, because I drove it the night before, or the 2 nights before, when they raced in Olean.
You're from Allegheny, New York, and not too far from here is Dean Layfield was from.
Wellsville.
What did he mean to Jim Phearsdorf at the time?
Well, I'll tell you, he was kind of hero of racing back in them days. You couldn't ask a better man. I remember going to State Line after we had this car. I built another 55 Ford, and we had 2 4-barrel carburetors, everything. You go through all that stuff trying to get more out of them and things going. And I had trouble with the carburetor and the stuff there going. And in between, when they had the intermission, Dean come over and worked on my car, and he had a fellow that always went with him. I can't remember his name now, but he was always with Dean. They worked on Dean's car, and Dean come over and worked on mine. Well, somebody else was working on his. You couldn't beat the fellow for being, help out somebody. He was a great help on the racetrack, and he could run one too. There was no getting out of anything any better.
Was he, to sense to you younger guys, was he the the role model.
Yeah, he was kind of, I mean, back to us, that was a big deal. At 916th Fred was going, we used to, even before he got go to Wellsville and see him at there running stuff, he was the, Dean was the role model back then for the young guys going, everything going.
Did you go to his funeral?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
How long did you race up at State Line? What's your time frame? It's starting in 57, I guess. And how many years did you race up there?
We didn't run there to State Line too many years, but I said that's what we run, maybe, I don't know, 3 years or something like that is going.
Right.
And then I had the man that owned the Ford garage here in Salamanca, Ed Galen, and Jack Kemp was his service manager. They had modified, so we started running them modifieds, and we run like Olean, then we go to Angelica, and going, and Sunday you'd run Perry or North Collins, or most of the Sundays was Lancaster Speedway, and kind of got out of late models, more running all modified. We had a good sponsor and stuff going, then.
We're going to show you a grouping of pictures of some of the drivers during your time period. And I want you to take a look at them, and if any name comes out or a story, would love to hear you comment on them. These are some, this is from a photo shoot of...
No, I gotta have them cheaters.
Well, so do we.
I only got one to look through, see.
Oh, okay. That's Floyd Green. Boy, that don't look like Floyd Green that I knew. Old Emery, yeah. Tom Dill, he was a top shot then. What did you say about Tom Dill?
He was a pretty hot shot. He had about, I think, 57 shibbies, I think. He was running at the shed going.
What was his reputation?
Well, he had a pretty good, he had a car that was a pretty good car. Right. I won't say Tom was the best driver, but he was a good driver. I remember old Sammy here, Emma Crusoe, whatever he is there, he drove, I think he had a Studebaker.
Right.
Running down there. Yeah, there's Hal Russell, he Ford running, yeah. Jim Beeble-Corn. And that Jim Beeble-Corn run that car down there, and that modified that was in there that I won the season championship with Angelica. I bought the motor out of that, his car that he run at State Line. I bought the motor for $200 and put it in that car and never did nothing. We didn't change spark plugs or nothing. We went up to Angelica and won the season championship.
Okay.
Old Gus Nelson in a 56 Oldsmobile. Old Eb Young, what did he drive? Number 22, 122?
Yeah, a 22, you're right. A convertible.
Yeah. Pink.
It was pink?
I think it was pink.
We never heard that.
I think
all we ever saw was black and white pictures.
I think the car was pink, real pink, painted pink.
Fashion stuff.
Chuck Piazza. There's McCracken.
Some more on the back, yeah.
There's that Bobby Snars that couldn't drive a wheelbar, but he won every 100 or 50 lap race there was.
Why was that?
You know why Bobby won them?
No.
Bobby Snars drove as fast. And lap one, the same, a lap, it was a 100 lap race. He drove just as hard at 100 laps, the 100 lap races he did at the first race that's going. He was a very strong, he just drove hard, he drove just hard every lap that way. Old Jughead Pierce and Seeley.
Did you know Jughead Pierce from?
Yeah, Bonneville down there, yeah. Let's see, Jug's sister was married to the guy had the Chevrolet garage. Used to be in Ownaville back when we was that young. Carl Tyler. There's old Ed Stair. I was driving one of Dean's 56 Mercuries. There's Squirt John's another one that couldn't drive a wheelbarrow. Won every race.
Couldn't drive a wheelbarrow.
Oh, I get on Squirt every time going when he had a banquet. He comes to the Cuba race banquet.
Right.
Everything going. I always get on old Squirt going.
Seriously, I bet they're saying the same thing about you. You couldn't drive a.
Yes, sir. Old Squirt was a great fella. Old Jim Patrick there. Old Joe Saunders, I bought one of his 55 Mercuries. I was going to race it, bought the car, everything, got ready to race, and I sold it before I ever raced it. It was a yellow 55 or 6 Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Old Dean, yeah. Yeah, most of these guys, all can remember. There's just,
During that 3-year time period on State Line, who was the guy to beat? Was it guys like Squirt?
Oh yeah, Squirt, we had to go on. I remember going Squirt. I always get on him one time down there, coming out of number 4. Kern Squirt was leading the race, and I was right hot on him going, and just like I got him coming out of number 4, and Squirt says, "I thought you was going to spin me, so I pulled over to let you go by." That's what he says. Yeah, I thought you was going to spin me out. He said, "I pulled over and let you go by." Yeah, that's. We talk about that quite a bit when we're at the race banquet at Cuba Lake.
Yeah.
Yes, there were some good boys back in them days.
Did you have much camaraderie so that after the races, did you guys get together in the pits and party, or were you more likely to head out?
Well, I'll tell you, when we were on late model, didn't seem to be too much party, but when we got into the modified running, when it was Angelica Fairgrounds running, it was always whoever won the feature had to stop in the Angelica hotel and buy a case of beer. Oh. That was a set rule. Whoever won the feature had to stop there and buy a case of beer. But outside of that, that never bothered me too much. I never had too much taste for that. Couple of them down and that was enough to go and,
Bud, why did you stop racing late models and make the switch to the modifieds? Was it a matter of convenience for you?
Well, the guy had the modified, the Ford garage did it, and I always drove Fords, and the guy that owned the garage just said, wanted me to drive their car, their modified. So I just kind of moved into the modified and saved half. I didn't have to work on cars. Didn't have too much money back in them days. When you're bringing home $43 a week or something, it wasn't too much for raising a family.
I see. So you were just the hired driver then. You really didn't have to prepare the car or anything?
No. Well, I did work on it, but I didn't have to know. I didn't have to do anything on the car. Just.
How did you get paid when you were working on the modified? Did they give you a percentage of what the car won?
Yeah, we used to run 40-60. I used to get 40% of what we won. And then after, everything was going, finally we just put all the money we won in the kitty, took out for our pit passes, our gas and everything going, our repairs. In the end of the year, me and the car owner, we just split the money.
I see.
Going and running.
Now, what was the purse structure like comparing late models to modified? What kind of money were you racing for at State Line with a late model versus Angelica with a modified?
I think, far as money wise, that we were running fairly close. On it, And far as purse money.
You don't remember any numbers, actual numbers, what kind of dollars you were racing for?
I don't know, but I remember winning $300 and thought we had the bank, had all First National Bank.
Well, in the article, I think in this article, I think it said you won. Yeah, you won $200 for that race at State Line. You won $200. And would you say you were making $43 at work?
Yeah, I was drawing for yep, it was drawing 43.
$200 one night.
Tile planting made hardly nothing.
Yeah.
Went every day, but make no money.
Yeah, bring home about $43 a week after everything was taken out within going.
Now, were you the owner of these late models?
Yeah.
You didn't have a partner or any?
No, them late models, no.
Okay, okay.
I see you had a crew, and they mentioned the crew's name here, Tim Root, Joe Wesley, Dick Barton.
Tim Rutt.
Timmy Rutt.
He got
Rutt,
killed.
okay.
Rutt it was.
Okay, Joe Wesley, Dick Barton, and Jack Page.
Yeah, just Joe, I mean, well, actually, in that Buzz Barton, I mean, he had money in that car and everything, same as, I mean, going. I could say, you might as well say a partner. He had money in it. I mean, he just, when you needed things he had a job at Clark Brothers, and we needed expensive parts, which we didn't put a hell of a lot of cams and stuff. I mean, you know, he'd had a hell of a time to dig up.
This guy had 4 babies.
If you're buying a cam or something back then, if he was paying, you know, for an Esky cam or something, probably $100, you thought you was spending a lot of money.
In this article, it says, talks about Bud Phearsdorf. And they wanted to remind us of the opening night semifinal in which you were holding 3rd place and bidding for 2nd, only to lose a right front wheel on the 3rd turn. Such are the breaks which make stock car racing the thrilling, edge-of-your-seat sport that it is. But we don't have to tell you that. What you probably didn't know is that Bud and the boys got stuck in the mud on the way to the race and managed to acquire a traffic ticket to boot. It's nice to see that bad luck was offset by the good luck. Did that all happen to you?
Oh, yeah.
What happened there?
Well, I don't remember why. You know, like you're going to the races, you're running late. There's something going. I'll tell you, we was coming back from State Line one night. I had a '56 Ford, and back in them days, it was always the oil line run along the pan. It was always hop up the oil pump. You'd pull a spring out, put a screw in the spring to build up the oil pressure and everything going. And we've I don't know why, I mean, going, but my wife was towing a race car coming back from State Line, and I was an always early to bed fella. I was sleeping, she said to me, the red light come on, the oil light come on. I said, turn up the radio and gas it.
We didn't go far and blow the
Well, about 2 miles in the engine blow, but what happened?
wasn't my fault. I told him the lights on.
Yeah.
You turn up the radio and gas it. So we was coming home. I mean,
I gotta tell you, but you're one of the best storytellers that we've interviewed. We've interviewed 20-some people, and you are one of the funniest guys.
That's terrific. If you had to look back on your even days of State Line or maybe otherwise, and if I were to say, Bud, tell me the funniest thing that ever happened to you on a racetrack, what would that be?
I wouldn't know what to tell you. I wouldn't know what to tell you.
Or maybe the most bizarre thing that you saw on the track, something maybe that you just couldn't believe it, or there was a wreck, or
I'll tell you, Lancaster Speedway. We was up there racing modifieds and laps to Lancaster Speedway, and Jim Capella was running up there. He just put a big Chrysler motor, I don't know, Chrysler 300 or something in his modified. And I remember he was going down the back stretch, and he hooked the guardrail or whatever happened, but he went end over end over end to end to end. And I can remember me and Mike Clark was right there. We run right over the car, and it was bottom side up there and everything going. And I can remember, I mean, he was there in the car, and the battery had broke loose in the car, and it was right over his face. That battery acid just running right in his face and everything. He was dead. It killed him. He got killed right there.
Really?
Yeah, Jim Capella. He was from East Aurora.
oh gosh.
Well, that's a horrible story.
Oh yeah, man, that's something totally unrelated, Bud. You guys are from the Allegheny and not too far from Onaville. Did your paths ever cross Ray Caldwell's, the old baseball player who owned one of the restaurants over there? He pitched with the Boston Red Sox and the Cleveland Indians. He lived in Ownerville. That ring any bells?
No.
Okay. Unrelated. He's going into the Chautauqua County Sports Hall of Fame this year. He's long since dead, but
Yeah.
he had a restaurant in Ownerville. If we had to say guys like Leonard Briggs or Lloyd Williams, what would that mean to Bud Phearsdorf?
Well, I don't know what to say. It'd be awful nice to see them old fellas again or something going.
Right.
But like I said, I was just a young kid at that time.
Okay.
My just everything going. It just, I guess you don't have all your smarts yet then.
Did you have much interaction with Len Briggs?
No, not too much or anything going. No.
About Marv Thorpe?
I remember Marv Thorpe very well. Going, but he wasn't too big a fellow, was
Right, he was a small man.
he? Yeah.
He was a flag man at State Line the first 2 years, and then he gave up the flags and started driving up there.
Yeah. What was the? Oh, I was trying to think down there. Was it who flagged down there? Was a guy named Smith or Jim Ponders or?
Ponders flagged at State Line after Marv.
And then I think maybe I think his name was Smith or Smith. Maybe he was the one that flagged this at Smithport. Stuff going, but
We saw, we'll ask the question, have you ever seen any movies of State Line?
no.
Well, we got one, that's all. We're in great quest, but we saw, what's amazed us is the flagman would be right in the middle of the track.
We used to run modified and stuff started only in Whitey Gorsuch, which was from Wellsville. Whitey used to run back in the days, the first of Dean stuff running. Whitey just started him right in the middle of the track, both sides of modified. He'd be right up in the middle, right down through the middle of the track. And I remember there was a guy from Pennsdale, Pauly was his name. Whitey just told him, stay wide, he's right in the middle. And I remember old Pauly come right down the middle. Whitey jumped right up on the hood. Right up, he didn't get hurt, but he put a boy right up on the hood of the car coming. He put it over in the middle of the track and come down through instead of after the first lap going, But, Whitey was an awful good starter. Yeah. I remember him in Angelica. They had one night in that modified race up there. He was mad because, well, he wasn't mad, but he didn't think it was right that Jack Thomas was going to drive Bud Johnson's car. And Jack hadn't drove it, he just off and on driving. He wasn't steady or something going. Put him in to drive Bud Johnson's car, because Bud, I guess he was at ROTC or doing something. He wasn't there. Whitey come over and told him, me and Pezzamini, he said, that first lap around, he said, when the first warm-up lap, he said, I'm going to give you the flag. He said, when you come out of number 4, be on her. Because I remember when we caught number 4, I went to the outside, and when I come out of number 1 and 2, I was running third. We had to both started right in the back. He said, he come over and told us before the race, I'm going to give you the flag in the first lap coming out of number 4. And I'll tell you what, we had about, I don't know how many cars, when they come out of number 1 and 2, I was running third.
Have you talked to Francis Pezzamenti yet?
He didn't run State Line.
No, maybe once or twice, not very often.
No, I don't think he did. I don't think he even went there.
You don't think he was there ever?
I don't never remember Francis running there.
Well, I'll tell you the people we have talked to, and it's we've had more fun than you can imagine. We've talked to Squirt.
Did Squirt, he didn't have nothing to say smart about me?
I think you were brought up. Squirt, Marv Thorpe, Jerry Frank, Don Frank, Eddie Kisco,
Yeah.
Bobby Schnars, Jim Polaro, Sammy Lamacuso, Jim Scott, Ronnie Blackmer, Dave Turner, Ken Shearer, Herb Layfield, Betty Layfield, who's Billy's widow.
Yeah.
We've talked to Johnny Whitehead.
What's old John? He must be a talk to him. He's still around somewhere.
Johnny Whitehead.
Old Johnny Whitehead, he was quite a, He could hammer them when he wanted to go.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, put her down and go. I mean, he wasn't no slouch at driving. If he had something that would run.
We talked to Floyd Finale.
Yeah, I remember him.
We've also talked to Tom Dill, Guy Oakes, Jerry Nystrom, Doug Smith, who was a Post-Journal reporter. We'd also talked to Skip Furlow, Ray Groves, Blinky Litzinger. So we've had quite a...
I guess so.
And
What do you guys know in a minute? You must be retired, ain't you?
I am. He's not.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm still gainfully employed.
Must be a pretty easy job then somewhere. I mean,
He's a lawyer.
a what?
Lawyer.
Oh, well, hell, he don't work.
I knew that.
I don't dare tell you what I used to do.
He don't-
You'll say I never worked a day
he
either.
just goes out. He's like a fisherman. He's looking for suckers.
That's why he's down here tonight, bud.
That's right.
I think
Is that what you were, lawyer, or are a lawyer?
Still am.
Yeah, where your office and that's where you're at.
We're in Jamestown.
Oh yeah.
So we've taken on this little project here of having fun, and we don't get paid for this. This is just purely volunteer. But our goal is to have a documentary. We did one, as Randy indicated, on an old dirt track up there called Rollable, 1956 to 1960, and we interviewed the drivers, found some old film, and turned it into a fun documentary. We had a big event 2 years ago. The whole community came out to see it. Well, now they've said, well, why don't you do one on State Line? And my attitude was, that's too big a project. It's too many years. So I said, if we narrow it down to the first 10 years, the beginning, State Line, the beginning, then we'll do it. So that's what we're doing. So we are now getting all these stories and pictures and hopefully get some movies, put it into a documentary, and in September of this year, up in Jamestown, and you'll be invited, we're going to have the world premiere. And all these guys that I just mentioned are all coming back for it. One big last reunion.
That sounds really, really great. Something like that. You know, I guess
It's going to be the last Sunday in September.
That'd be just wonderful.
the last Sunday in
You're
September.
going to get an invitation. Don't you worry about it.
That's getting back. Goddamn. Well, we used to have what you call a cowboy party on always the first. Saturday after Labor Day. There's 30 guys within the time. I finally got out of it because it was too much of a. 30 guys, and we put it on. We would have 700 to 800 pounds of beef. We put it right on the spits and cook it. Have everything, free beer, everything. You know, what it did being like the 30 guys, we'd buy tickets and give them to anybody you want. It cost us $5 a piece. You know, geez, lots of years I spent $200 just passing out tickets. You know,
All your friends, though.
that's right. That thing still goes on over the Chipmunk. It still goes on the first Saturday after Labor Day. Going.
Awful lot of people go.
What do you do for a living, bud? What was your job?
Well, I had to work. See there, I had to work.
Yeah, you lost a couple.
You know. No, I'll tell you what. I owned a tree service business doing tree and stump removal and things going, and I worked for 30 years for Niagara Mohawk Power Company. That's where I retired from Niagara Mohawk. But other time that I was there at Niagara Mohawk, I had a tree service. I'd take my trucks and chippers or whatever when I went to work. When I got done work, I worked every night after work. And I used to figure 10 o'clock, when I was in my garage at 10 o'clock sharpening saws or even putting new teeth in the stump machine or repairing so whatever had to be repaired, I'd quit at 10 o'clock and come in and go to bed. But for 30 years or more, I had a tree business service of my own.
What do you do for a living, Donna?
You're looking at it.
No,
Race car driver.
Yeah.
No, she worked over to Spears and Corning over to Bradford till she come up. She got MS and back when, what was it, 26 years old, 24?
24.
24 years old, and she come down with multiple sclerosis, and that kind of put the crimp on everything there going, and it's just been downhill since then
You've
for
been
her.
the wife and the mother since then.
Oh, yeah.
And
Hey, Donna, I'm going to take the microphone off him right now. And I'm coming up there, and I want you to tell a couple of stories about your powder puff days. Is that okay?
I don't have anything to tell. I
You
can't-
just told a
You
story.
told
and I
about
find
spitting out your
utterly
mother.
unbelievable.
We want to have that on film.
When I heard that, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
she,
you like this. We've been interviewing all these guys, and all these guys talk about the roughest driver they ever raced against was Tom Dill. And Jim Scott told us Tom Dill would spin out his mother. Well, I didn't know it really happened until today. That somebody really did spin
Yep.
out their mother.
Yeah,
So
she
you
was-
got to get on film, Donna.
yeah, that was over to Smithport. She was running the powder puff over there going, and I remember, I can't remember whose car you were driving that night, but she was, your
remember.
artist was driving Stub Weegart's old
The big old Cadillac.
he had running.
Is Stubb still alive?
Oh yeah, Stubb lives at,
Well, I'm looking at your book. It says he lives in Sodus, New York.
that's what I was going to tell you. He just sent me that stuff. Maybe that's why you found it. I don't know.
Well, I've seen this before.
Stubb, I mean, he sent me that. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a
Within
replica.
last
He
year.
made this replica. Here's your man on the cover, Greg. So-
There we go, 9/16. Yep.
Dean was Greg's hero.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, he was a lot of people's hero. He was not only a good driver, he was a great man. I mean, just like I said, I having trouble with carburetors, 4-barrel carburetors, and like I said, I was didn't know much about them, anything, setting them up or anything, going. And he come over during intermission and worked on my car, my race car, and he was broke down in the meantime, and he had somebody fixing his. I can't remember if he had a broken axle or rear end or what was gone, but they was working on his car, and he wasn't there. He was over helping me. Yeah.
Is this Jim Hakes?
Yep.
Yep. No.
No?
Yeah, 37. That was Jim Hakes.
That's what I thought. Just
That's her
checking.
brother.
Your brother?
Yes, my brother, Jim Hanks.
That was her brother.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Is Jim alive?
Yes.
If you can call it that.
Oh.
He's an epileptic and he's really
Oh, he's in
Really?
bad shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. See, this picture was taken at State Line too. Yep, that's a State Line picture.
Yeah, that was her brother. He was in 37.
I'll be gall darn. Look at this small world. Now, did you know her before you got into racing, or?
Oh, yeah, she was my pastime from high school.
Oh, I see. Your extracurricular
Yeah,
from
yeah.
high school?
Yeah, that was,
That was the one.
So did Jim get into racing because of you, or did you get into racing because of Jim, or did it happen at
well,
the
I
same
don't know.
time?
We used to be up in, she lived behind the Hostaga restaurant up in Rock City. There's where the Hostaga is up there. And that's where her dad's garage and stuff, and worked on mine. And I don't know even where he come up with that car, stuff going, but he run that 37. I mean, he,
Interesting. In the race that you won, your car number was 43.
yeah, that was on the car, 43, because,
But in every other picture, you're in and running
Yeah.
47.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
I can't remember, it was somebody else. I had to change the number for some reason. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, somebody else at State Line already had 47?
There was something going, I had to change, somewhere State Line or somewhere else before.
Oh, or somewhere else.
I had to change the number or something, so I said, well, ain't nobody got, 47 or something.
I get it. All right, I understand.
I can't remember where it was, but somewhere we went, how you get there and you got a number on your car.
yeah.
Somebody else back then had the number and
Uh-huh.
something going, and I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, you've got part of that. Well, now you got all of it. We're going to leave that for you.
Well, that's pretty nice to have that back thing. I looked all over for the. I had boxes of pictures, but I don't know where they're 50 years ago. They probably half got together, thrown away, or They're buried from be no one where.
Gosh, isn't that great, huh?
Would you let me take these,
Take
scan
anything?
them, and send them back to you?
Do anything you want.
It's gonna take me one day.
I don't care. Don't. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna give you a business card so that you know where